Hi, I'm here to tell you that you can put your Meccanoid G15KS together. This video will help with some information that may be useful, along with your manual and the PDF document that gives step-by-step directions. This is not a complete set of directions. Instead, it is a help with some tricky points and some additional information for the user that may be helpful to make sure that everything is put together correctly. Have fun! Putting me together is not that hard, but it's not that easy either. Here it is, the Meccanoid G15KS in its original box, 1,188 parts. And it's included with a paper manual and some other information in clear packages, making it easy to find the parts and pieces that you need. Just something to note, in the manual they'll show not just the parts but the tools, and if you have another set of tools from another Meccano project, the machines they have all use the same general pieces and parts, and the screwdriver is really an Allen wrench of a very specific size, and the metal piece holds the nuts. It's exact sized to the exact size nut used, and if you've got a second set of these, it will make the project go a lot faster. Before you start, I highly recommend going online to get the PDF file of the directions. It is erector.us or meccano.com, which redirects to erector.us. And on the top, the blue instructions on the menu there, and simply select for range the Meccano Tech and age 10 plus, and search, and these are the only two sets of directions that come up with that search. You want, of course, the Meccanoid G15KS, and what do you know? It's right there. It is not exactly like the paper manual, which actually came in handy because it will give some, different point of view or slightly different information that helps you sort out things if there's a slight problem. So it's very, very slightly different, which, like I say, I think is a good thing. It helps you kind of get some understanding about, what might work the best. So there it is on the erector.us site, erector.us. My method is to put all of the parts from each section of the directions in a bin and then go from there. It's kind of hard to find the individual parts sometimes, so that takes some of the time out of the assembly process. Here's something to watch out for step 2. Make sure that it is in this same direction. You should see the logo, and you should see the protruding edges coming up from the center on that corner. And it just really fits nice and tight and looks very secure. Step number 7 requires 2 of these motors to be placed in a white casing and a very small nut to be slid in to the inside area. It just fits very well in that compartment and seems to work well. By the way, those motors, there's plenty of them. They are in a white box. There's a whole pile of those white boxes. In step 8, you just add a bolt and a nut to what you put together in step 7. And it's a little precarious, only if you can see that nut just slides in this really exact size area, and somebody needs to take a little tool or a finger or something and hold that in while somebody's using a screwdriver to put the bolt in on this side. These are the nuts and bolts for step 10. I don't know if it's helpful, but I just use an old disposable plate or tray of some kind to set each set of nuts and bolts out for each step. In step 10, those wires that are around the motor need to be threaded in back of it like shown. And as you know, in step 10, they want yet another set of the round white casings to go around that motor. Have the right opposite white round casing when it fits. If it doesn't fit, it's not the right one. It should fit in kind of a modular way, just like that. Just snaps together, fits perfectly well. For Each motor, it is fairly clear how to put the bolts and nuts in. You slide the nut in that casing that is there in the center in the middle on one side, and with the tool, take the bolt and feed it on through to make it fit securely. Very nice. Step 12, in both the PDF file and on the paper directions, indicate that you would need 2 of those Star Wars-like looking panels and 4 of those corner side edge pieces. When actually, if you are going to be making, as they do in step number 13, a piece that fits on the right of the motor and underneath the motor, you will in fact need 4 of those major assemblies to come together. They indicate that in step 12 you will end up with 2 of these. They look like Star Wars fighting ships. You will actually need 4 of them. Again, step 12 indicates that you will need 2 of these, and you in fact will need double that amount. There's a slight difference in the step 13 directions in regards to the bolt on the right that puts that facing panel into the motor. It's called an M3 in the PDF file, and I'm sorry, but there are no parts named M3 in the box, in the instruction manual or anything. So the paper instruction manual refers to that bolt as B1, and there is a 1-to-1 ratio image of it in the previous step number 11. So it's a B1. Don't let the M3 mistake mess you up. That's on the PDF file. Go by the paper manual and use B1. It fits. Now, if it fits snugly, that's great. It will still allow the part to rotate around. This is a little tricky, but remember those corner side panels, they are going to be facing away from the motor. So those extra little armed side areas are away from the motor area, facing away from it. 14, this is what you got. It's got 2 U-shaped orange pieces on it. It's got a Star Wars type panel on the side that is even tight, but yet allows movement. But the bottom piece associated with the motor there, attached to the motor, is rock solid. It is not moving. It is secure. That's after step 14. Steps 15 and 16 seem to be the arms for the Meccanoid, and oh, it's beginning to look cool. It's a baby robot. It's a little bit. For step 14, there was a bolt. It was a 7mm bolt. There were 4 needed. And guess what? In all of these millions of bolts and nuts, there were only 4 of them. So I found it necessary to organize the nuts and bolts and sort through them to find them. And yeah, I think that's a pretty smart move. Step 15, when you begin to attach the motors to the main, I'm going to call it the heart and the guts, make sure that you are assembling the motor to the back and right and left of this, what appears to be the front, where you can see the letter M for the logo. So, I don't know, that motor goes on the top right, and of course the other on the top left. But make sure it goes on the back side so that that M logo is toward the front. On step 17, these armor-like plates go together in this way, just as it shows in the directions on step 17. And the indented area from the outside looking in is how it's supposed to be, and then that corresponding edge piece that actually holds the 2 together is on the opposite side of where those parts indent. Step 17. Completion of step 17. Notice the exact fit, the precise nature of how each part really does blend into the next, And if you should see anything that does not look square or correct or fit correctly, then my suggestion is that you reread the directions and make sure that everything does look good and square, because we found we did have to turn a piece or two around to make sure that it was in the absolute correct position, because when it is, it fits like a glove. Here we have it, the end of step 19. Looks like a fully encased little rib cage there. There we go. In step number 20, the trick is to get the 3 long rectangular black pieces to face the correct way. There are 2 sides, one side with a square area cut out that is the shape of the nuts, and a rounded side which works better with the bolt. So the shape with the cut out side for the nuts is facing out or away from the center in the center piece. On the left, the shaped that are cut out for the nuts is shaped in or toward or facing toward the center, and on the right, the part that is cut out with the shapes for the nuts is facing the middle. Step number 22 involves an angular orange piece and another sort of trapezoidal looking gray piece. The angular orange piece fits in exactly as shown. The piece has 6 screws in it and will fit as shown on the middle and left. And then the next piece, which is a trapezoidal sort of shape, and that's fitting, and it goes down 1 notch, just about 1 notch below where the long black rectangular stick-like pieces end. 24 looks a little confusing, but it's just another one of those orange angular pieces being set up just like it was on the left side. It can be best described by looking at the result on step 25. An example of what that looks like being put together. Example of what those pieces look like put together. All in the process. We still have a couple of more nuts and bolts. As you can see, especially in 26, 27, 28, the best way to find out what your parts are supposed to look like when they are assembled correctly is to look at the step ahead. Especially once you get to 27 and 28, you get a quite odd looking bunch of things stuck together there in 28. And the rule of thumb, as we mentioned before, if you look at those long rectangular black pieces and you see the side with the squares carved out, they are for the nuts. Whatever side needs those nuts put in there, they hold them correctly and firmly, so that squared out side is where the nuts go in any of the cases. Here's an example of step 28, getting to step 28. You might note that in step 27, it seems like you should be applying 2 nuts and bolts to adhere the rectangular orange piece, but no, it's only 1. And they continue to show that there was only 1 of those places that needed a bolt and nut, the bottommost one. So, you know, for some reason, I guess they're leaving that to another step, so only 1 goes in, and it looks like there's 1 that is missing, but it is not. It is the correct way to do it according to the directions. Step number 31, as it appears completely assembled. We're now at step 32. As you can tell, there is a black Meccanoid box that is being attached using bolts and nuts. A little bit of a glitch here. There is shown on the PDF file 2 what is labeled B1 style screws with threads only on part of that, and then the regular S3 screws for the top. And as we put it together, we discovered there's a reason that there are longer screws needed for the bottom of that connection. It's just going through more parts, and it needs a longer screw to do so. However, on the manual in the book, it is different. It shows all 4 of those using the S3, but as I just noted, that doesn't work. the S3 is not long enough to attach that correctly. So we just chose to go through and use the B1 style screw, and if we we'll just go from there because it works. 33, 34, and 35 seem pretty straightforward. Here is the assembly after step 35. Step 38, finally an easy one. All you have to do is stand the thing up. They just want you to see what the whole assembly so far looks like standing up.